Hey there, Sandy Freshy here, back with another video. Thank you so much for joining me. I apologize for not having my live face on the camera today. I'm having a few technical difficulties, but it was really important for me to provide you with a little introduction to what you're about to see because it is not my normal style. You are going to get a little peek into my second Saturn return astrology reading that I got from an amazing astrologer named Akasha Madron. She's not only an astrologer, but she's a wise woman and a magical being, and she has so many healing things to offer. So I'll leave her information down below. I do also want to say that in addition to some amazing very clear information about what the Saturn returns are about. She is also telling me specifically about my Saturn. And I'm telling you this because I want you to weed that out if it's not pertinent to you. My Saturn is retrograde in Aquarius in the 6th house. So you will benefit from those little detailed snippets of information if you have a retrograde Saturn, if you have a Saturn in Aquarius, or if your Saturn is in the 6th house. Otherwise, don't try to apply it to your chart. All right, so without further ado, onward to the reading.
Your Saturn return started on 11/14/2021.
That makes sense.
It will go through till April 24th of this year, and then you'll have a break. And then June 5th, it'll start up again because Saturn will be retrograding out and then come back in again. So you'll have like about a month and so break, and then it will be June 5th till January 15th of 2023.
Okay.
So just know it ends on January 15th of 2023 proper.
Okay.
And I have to say you are lucky you have a shorter one than most. I had 2 retrogrades within mine.
So you'll explain to me what the significance of that is?
Yes. So basically, when you have, like, say this is your natal, hold on, let me fix this better. This is your natal Saturn. And this is the Saturn that's in the sky right now. And it's going by and it's coming along, and then it hits it. And then it goes a little bit beyond. And then, hey, it's retrograding. So it's going backwards while we're going forwards. So it crosses that exact point of the Saturn return going backwards. And then it kind of goes out of picture. And then when it starts going direct again, it's going to come back around and then a third time hit that Saturn return and then go beyond it. And if you're unlucky like I am, this next Saturn return puts it right back into the Saturn return field again, but maybe not as far. Like it may come like here and then go forward, which is what mine did. Mine went there, 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 there kind of thing. Whereas yours is going there and keeps going. And when it returns, it doesn't reach that orb. It's like an 8-degree orb. So the effect of the Saturn return is 8 degrees on this side and 8 degrees on that side. And then the middle is the exact degree. So you have like this zone of it being there, the conjunction. And so you're lucky that yours goes all the way and then it doesn't come back further. So, and it's in Aquarius in the 6th house, just to say. And there. So 6th house. Oh, let me just put up it's better to look at the chart. That's all I can say. So I'm going to screen share. Let me get it prepped.
Yeah, that's going to help me because you know what I'll do is I'll take back what you're telling me, and I'll run it through my human design programs where they can pull up the astrological chart with it. And then I'll follow along, and then I'll put try to piece together like the gates and all of that and how it's affecting.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
So it'll give me a little extra dimension of learning for human design as well.
Okay. All right. Here it is. Here's your natal chart. So this will help you better. Saturn is right here. It's this like little tail on the cross. And this is the 6th house. It's in Aquarius. It's retrograde. So let me explain. Do you know retrogrades?
Yeah, I have a general idea of retrograde, but I really am interested in understanding what that means in terms of Saturn being retrograde in my chart.
Got it. Okay, I will explain that. So retrogrades are always about the internal stuff, like anything rewire, reevaluate, rewind, retrain, redo, like it's redoing things. It's reevaluating and then going forward again after you've reevaluated. So, or evaluated, reevaluated, whatever. Anyway, so I think I made a new word there.
I like it.
So Saturn, so first off, let me just say a base note. Saturn in and of itself. Saturn is what you base your values on. It's the bulwark that you rest on as you're making decisions. So it's your priorities, your values, the foundation of your belief system. It's a solid thing. It's about responsibility, work. Like major Saturn people are nose to the grindstone, take on responsibility like the drop of a hat, So Saturn is like one of the cornerstones of anyone's personality. So usually it's like the first thing you look at is the sun, which is the focus, the purpose. It's the core. All the other planets revolve around the sun. It's the same in an astrology chart. The sun is your heart. The sun is why you're even here. So you always look at the sun. And then the moon is the emotions, the comfort, what allows you to perceive other humans and to receive the world and make judgments or have feelings about it, kind of thing. It's just the feeling, the yin versus the yang of the sun. And then you look at the ascendant as the third major, which is the face that you give to the world. It's the face that people see. If someone's guessing your sun sign, they're really guessing your rising sign because that's what they see of you. Most people do not know what your heart purpose is unless it's right on the horizon sign, right on the rising sign. And then it's what they call the heart is on your sleeve where everyone can see it. So that usually means the sun is somewhere near the ascendant with those people. But people are really seeing the ascendant when they're thinking, oh, you're X sun sign kind of thing. But then the fourth thing an astrologer looks at is that Saturn, because that's the rest, that's the basement, the foundation of the house kind of thing. So Saturn is very solid, very and it's constrictive because it's all about like, okay, let's look at this realistically. It's about staying safe. Saturn is all about staying safe. And the relationship that Saturn has with Jupiter is where you get how risky you are, how much you jump before you look and stuff like that. Like Jupiter is the expand, like take it all, risk, jump before you look, all that stuff. So the way Saturn and Jupiter relate within the natal chart tells you how cautious you are versus and just all sorts of things. So just so you know, your Jupiter is up here in this area in the 8th, just in case you were wondering. So So Saturn retrograde is you take that foundation, you take that looking at things and turn it around as if you're doing a selfie. And it just means that your Saturn happens internally more than externally. So instead of there's a hurricane coming and you're reacting, more often than not, what it is you have a crisis of identity, or something has impacted you or your home or your spouse, but your internal personal space, and that constitutes a reaction or a survival decision kind of thing. So your Saturn reacts more to how impacted you are on the internal level rather than the external level.
Interesting. So, yeah. Okay.
And also what happens with Saturn too when it's retrograde is you're more likely to really look at things internally and review them and evaluate them for yourself first before you say to your friends, family, or if you had a boss or whatever, this is what I want to do. You have to first pass it through yourself and then go external with it, as opposed to people with direct Saturns will just talk directly to their spouse, to their boss, to their family, and then make the decision talking with them. Whereas the retrograde Saturn tends to talk with the self and then talk externally. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like if something happens in my personal world, I do have to almost retreat and ground myself and process it before I can respond or come out with anything of any value.
Exactly. And that's also telling in the sense too that your moon is right here in the same house as your Saturn, and the moon is the emotional stuff. So they're in the same house. They're not conjunct. Because you can see here moon, I will be sending these so you can see it, but see here in this graph you have the moon and you go to Saturn, it's empty. That means it's not conjunct, but they are in the same house. So they have the same values, the same focuses. The house is kind of like the way I describe a chart, just to go back a little for basics, is that the planets, the Saturn, the moon, the sun, all that stuff, are the things you chew, like the vegetables, the meat, the tofu, anything you chew, that's the planets. It's the meat and potatoes.
Okay.
And the signs are the spices, whether you do a hot and sour versus a Mediterranean basil, parsley, or an Italian oregano. Those are the signs. They create the flavors that flavor what you're chewing.
Okay.
And then the houses are the broth, whether it's a tomato broth or a clear broth or a miso broth or a white dairy broth, a creamy broth. That's what the planets are swimming in. So the sixth house so the moon and the Saturn are swimming in the same broth. So they're working together a lot. And the focus of the sixth house is health, co-workers or peers in like the guild would be the sixth house. So co-workers, people you work with, stuff like that, and service, how you serve others.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's like the sixth house. And so there's a thing about the sixth house that is about interacting with others, but not in an intimate way, because the seventh house is partners, good friendships, like really strong connections, whereas the sixth house are more like we are in the guild. It's like yeah, we meet twice a month and stuff like that. So there's a relationship there, but we don't like go to your
Live with
house for
each other,
tea every
right?
day
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like we're not friends, you know, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so that's important to know that, like, especially with the Saturn return happening here, like these kinds of people are really up right now. And it makes sense that you're working on your membership and how to bring people in on a regular membership kind of basis and how you work with your clients, because that's all sixth house. And solidifying how the guild is going to grow and be is part of that sixth house. So I would definitely pay attention to what you want from the guild. I'm kind of leaping ahead for a moment. But I was thinking like, yeah, having that conversation in the guild about what you want from it is really important for you right now, because it's part of your second Saturn return to refine and figure out what do you need and what do you want and asking for it.
Interesting. Yeah.
This,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And the
what's coming up really around that is like I've really been evaluating like all of my community connections, the guild being
right.
one of them, but like, you know, all of my online and like, you know, on the ground local community connections and what they're about and where do I really need to spend my time and my focus. What do I really want to spend my time and my focus on? You know, and yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And it's underscored by Aquarius, the spice. Aquarius is all about friendships and groups and community. Like that's what it's all about, is the collective consciousness and how to create this ideal world. That's what the Aquarian energy is all about, is community and stuff like that. So your Saturn and Moon are both in Aquarius, so that also kind of ups the ante a bit more, because that's what Aquarius is about. So it's kind of triple or quadruples that whole focus. So I want to say, don't be afraid to really open up to the best of all possible worlds in regards to what you want, in regards to what you need, in regards to what you want to shoot, you know, like goal for, in the sense that usually the bigger you are, the more you can get, whereas the smaller you think, like basically you're going to get half of what you shoot for, kind of thing. And so if you can think really big, then you'll get half that. So you don't want to think about what you want. You want to think about beyond what you want, what you dare to desire. And that's going to really be fruitful later on when you get out of the Saturn return, because the Saturn return is about the earthquake rumbling the foundations and figuring out what stays and what goes. And I mean, that's the whole point. And in fact, I was reading about the difference between the first Saturn return and the second one. And like the first one is more about, what do I want to do in life? What is my career? In fact, I have friends who think that teenagers are not adults until they've gone through until they're 30, which is literally the end of the Saturn return. So
that's how we look at it in human design too. It's like, yeah, they don't really start to turn to the real adulting until the first Saturn return.
Exactly. And the reason is that Saturn, it gets rid of the conditioning from family, peers, teachers, schooling. It totally is designed to really upset the identity a bit, so that the person, as they become an adult, can say, I don't want this anymore. This doesn't work for me. I want this. And how do I make this happen? So it is about choosing career in a different way than just, oh, I just graduated college or high school, and what job do I get? It's more about the career and less about the job. Does that make sense? Like the soul work.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's in my first Saturn return, I resigned my commission in the Navy and went to massage school.
Yeah.
Because it was a step into what I knew in my heart and soul was my purpose.
Right. And if you notice, both of those are service, like, because the sixth house is about service. Both being in the Navy and doing massage is very much service. So you still have that consistency there.
Yeah. Who am I serving? Who am I? Yeah, exactly. Who am I with? Who am I serving?
And how do you want
the right community of people?
Right. And how you serve that community too, so that you feel fulfilled and supported rather than doing something you don't want to do, kind of thing. So there's that difference too. And so the second Saturn return is a little similar in that it's like you've already done that. You've gone through the gauntlet. And now it's about, okay, second act or third act, technically. Where do I want to go from here? A lot of people are thinking about retirement because it's around the 60s. These days, most people are just thinking, I'm sick of doing what I was doing. I want to do something different, or I'm going to retune this so I have more free time and less work. Like, a lot of it is about reevaluating your work, how much you work, who you work with, how you can, get more free time so you can be with yourself or your spouse or family and play. It's more about opening up to the play aspect, because like the hard work has happened. So
yes,
that's
the window has closed on that. Their door or the window or whatever. That's how I
think. Exactly.
It has closed on that. And it's just, I felt it energetically. Mm-hmm. Like it coming on I've been feeling it for the past 8 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because that's when it started.
Yeah. Yeah.
In November. So what I learned from my experience of doing second Saturn return, since I'm just done with mine, is that another part of it is things came up during the first Saturn return that now you have the maturity to handle that you didn't have in the first Saturn return. So it kind of is also a kind of swinging back and going through a mini first Saturn return so you can deal with the things you couldn't deal with before. But now it comes from wisdom. Now it comes from skill. Now it comes from living, kind of thing. So there's a kind of closure to the first Saturn return that is not apparent when you're first looking at it, but when you get out on the other side, you're like, oh, I dealt with blah, 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 and boy, did I have a hard time with it, before, but this time it was a breeze, or something like that. Mm-hmm. So also be aware that there may be repetitions from the first to let you really get it this time that you may not have gotten last time, kind of thing. So, and with the sixth house, I also want to say it's also not just about service and how you serve, whether it's yourself, your family, or your clients. It's also health. And so having the Saturn return in the sixth house is always a clue to really get down and dirty with your health. Anything you've been putting off for keeping yourself healthy, now is the time to start.
And I have this whole list of like dental and, all of these things that have to get done. And I was thinking the other day, this is like, no wonder people have to retire.
Yeah, you don't have time. Yeah. Totally. So I want to encourage you to continue on that path, because having good health, figuring out your health, having different routines for your health, all that stuff is really crucial during the Saturn return, because it's in the sixth house mostly. And also, I would be remiss in also not saying that it can also mean that there might be health issues with your loved ones. So to just be aware that isn't just yourself that the Saturn return can impact health-wise, but other people around you that are close.